Welcome to Connect, the segment in our service where we learn all about how God is connecting at His church. In this edition, we want to share two stories we believe show off God's power and creativity in leading people to Himself through the faithfulness of His church. Brett and Rebecca had been attending a Catholic church, but Brett began to feel something was off.
It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I was getting the right message, like I was missing a piece of it, and that I was finally found when I went to Emmanuel, and it was absolutely amazing. And from there, from the moment that I laid foot into Emmanuel, it was just a great path. Finally decided to get baptized, and from there, it was like an open world.
Brett and Rebecca had become born-again believers shortly after regularly attending Emmanuel. And biblically speaking, that meant baptism was next. But that can sometimes create a problem if you have a Catholic family background. Rebecca began to question, what will my family think of this?
How do I tell them that this is what I want to do? This is my big step. And in the beginning, I actually opted out not to tell them.
Thankfully, Rebecca did tell them. Because of this courage, so many amazing things happened.
They liked it. They kept their comments to themselves for the most part. But it was actually really beautiful because I think they were able to get a little glimpse at the time of what Emmanuel was about and what this new part of my life was.
And as God often does, He began to use Rebecca's testimony to lead her family to Himself.
Amazing things were happening in our life. We were having a child, we got baptized, got married, we have a house, graduated, had another child. We're getting to learn more and more people from the church, getting involved. We're doing discipleship, and
growing in faith.
We're going into the media or the nursery, and everything is just, God is really guiding our path. And at some points it's like, wow, thank you. This is becoming real easy. And then there was a lump.
As many of you know, Rebecca had discovered cancer in her body. Emmanuel heard the news, and immediately God's church began to do what it does best: provide support and love.
I saw an outreach of people willing to not only help, but also the same women that are around her age asking her questions. And I'm witnessing her share her story. And so many people are being moved by this, including her sister.
Rebecca's sister started taking off every Friday to be with her for treatments. Rebecca started to notice her sister's spiritual mood was changing by spending so much time with her, so she decided to give her a devotional pastor gave out to our church, and the most amazing thing happened.
Because I got cancer, it could have been a negative situation, but we turned it into a positive. And throughout that transition, I will say through our relationship, our marriage, and our children, we were able to see my sister come to Christ and see my mother come to Christ, see my father willingly to openly admit that he believes in Jesus. And not only that, but my brother-in-law's coming. My sister decided to enroll her daughter into ECA, which was phenomenal. And next year, she's actually gonna have her other daughter go. So slowly, there was a lot of blessings that we got out of having cancer. And I think we were able to share that not only with our family, but with our church family too, and extend that out to others who were in need.
Isn't the Lord super creative? He says that all things work together for good to those who love Him. God's creativity in helping our loved ones come to know Him is truly remarkable. He uses the most humble of things to bring people to Himself, even a humble little school concert.
My niece Lauren and Rachel attend Emmanuel School, and we started to come to the concerts, the Christmas concert, the spring concert, and we really enjoyed it.
Rick and Nina attended these concerts for years, and God began to use these services in a huge way in their lives.
To be frank, I wasn't so crazy about coming to the church because I was a Catholic, and I said, well, I'm going to go to church, and I had these reservations about it's all about the money. It's all about the money. It's all about the money thing. So I had my reservations, but I did it for the kids. But there was something about Pastor Carey when he would do his preaching, and I would leave there, and I'd always say to Nina, something about that guy, something about the way he talks and the way he preaches is just, I really enjoy it. It really it hits home, and he talks about things that we can relate to on a daily basis.
During this time of intermittently coming to Emmanuel for these school concerts, an interesting thing began to happen in Rick. He began to doubt God and the Catholic Church.
I didn't know how to react to that. I mean, he's my husband, and we have a family, and, living without God is not an option. So, he says, I don't want to go to church, and I was attending church alone. And, one day I said, well, why don't we try Emmanuel?
I said, sure, let's go ahead and do it. Part of we have the gift for you with Pastor's book done, and, you can stop up there and get it on your way out. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna get that gift package, and I'm gonna read the book. And me being discouraged with my religion, as she had said, I didn't want anything to do with it. I had issues with what was going on in the Catholic Church, and I was dealing with all of that turmoil and thinking that how could this happen and God allow this to happen? I'm finished with this. And there's so many answers to questions that I had, I wasn't finding anywhere. So when we got the book, I started reading the book, and Nina could tell you, I used to come around, Nina, look, this. It's so simple. Here's the answer to the questions I've had my whole entire life, 7 years of Catholic school, and here it is. I got this. I said, you know what? I think we found our place. So then that's when we started coming on a regular basis.
After Rick prays with Pastor for salvation in a service for the first time in his life, Rick is given a Bible, and soon after, both Rick and Nina are baptized.
There's a difference between believing and trusting in God. I didn't know the difference until I started to listen to Pastor Carey, read the book, and also just coming here to this church. My life is different.
Rick and Nina have both been through Starting Point and plan to continue through our Growth Track classes. The Lord really has been doing some amazing things at our church. The last 3 months, we've had the incredible opportunity of renovating some key areas of our building. And it's all happening because of God's grace and your investment in the work of the gospel. The fellowship hall walls have been installed, and pretty soon we will be using all 3 spaces for kids ministry, youth ministry, and adult ministry. Additionally, the new church roof is nearing completion, and the contract is signed for the beautiful remodeling of the upstairs restrooms. In October, we launched into Emmanuel Global. We had the privilege of partnering with local organizations, partnering with several new missionaries, and seeing God increase our missions giving. We are presently preparing the New Year missions budget and praying that God will let us do more than ever before. Project 514 challenged us to live on mission this season. We've engaged in 7 major outreach and community service projects together. The first was the In the Gospel Refuel event in Orlando. 50 pastors and their wives attended, and each one received a journal, a book, and notes of encouragement from our church family. To God's glory, marriages and ministries were refreshed and strengthened. For our second project, many of you took time to write our missionaries postcards of prayers and encouragement. We sent out hundreds of postcards to 50 missionaries around the world, and already many have responded with thanks, expressing that the cards encouraged them in the face of trials or adversity. Our third project was Street Survival Bags in partnership with the Hartford Rescue Mission. Thanks to your incredible response, we were able to deliver 150 street survival bags. Next, we welcomed over 1,200 people to our trunk or treat. Dozens of our guests received guest bags and done books, and several recent visitors to Emmanuel said they came because of Trunk or Treat. Thank you to everyone who volunteered and made this night great fun for the families of our community. The Lord gave us an incredible emotional health weekend with Jonathan Hoover. We were thankful for Jonathan's knowledge and his heart as hundreds of people attended and were given practical tools for growing in gospel-shaped emotional health. These sessions are still available online at no cost. Share Thanksgiving was a huge success as we delivered hot Thanksgiving meals to over 100 individuals on Thanksgiving morning. Thank you to Vincent and his team of volunteers who cooked early that morning, and a great group of volunteers who helped deliver these meals and the gospel to families in our community. As December began, dozens of volunteers met to prepare and send out over 30,000 Christmas mailers to our community. Though the impact really can't be measured this side of heaven, it's encouraging to know that we ministered to just under 2,000 people between our school and church concerts. Emmanuel Christian Academy performed a night of music centered around the gospel being brought to light through some of our favorite Christmas movies. Then just a few days later, we hosted guest soloist Steve Amerson and Lori Gale Stevenson for our 5th annual Christmas concert. The gospel was preached, and we as a church were reminded once again of the work God is doing here at Emmanuel and around the world. May we continue to connect to God's church in the days ahead and help spread the good news of the gospel.